Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, who help contractors build great teams. My guest today is Jason Bentley from Mr. Remodel. Okay, so Jason, what does Mr. Remodel do?
Mr. Remodel is exactly what the title says. It's basically what we provide are exclusive leads or phone calls to home contractors within 10 different verticals within the industry. As of now, we'll be expanding down the road, but at this moment, everything from windows to pest control to HVAC to plumbing, roofing, and so forth.
Then we do a kitchen remodel. Does that count?
Kitchen remodels were that's not in the forte for this year, but next year, yes.
Okay, well, next year's coming up pretty soon, so we're good.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So tell me, how does your service work? I mean, how do you find people? How do you vet them? And how do you give the lead to the contractor?
You know, in this industry, it's everyone works a little bit differently. Our background, myself, Javier, and Tiago, we've been in the lead generation industry for about 20 years. So majority of that time was in the financial space, and this is really important for me to exercise with you guys because it kind of tells you our experience in lead generation. So in those 15 years, we worked with a lot of banks that hand out loans to consumers. Eventually, all three of us, we built businesses in that regard. We cashed out, walked away, and we came together and we started our home service industry, which we bought the brand Mr. Remodel. And so with that being said, we came on into this industry just a little under 3 years ago, and we're bringing all this wealth of knowledge and technology and understanding how lead flow works, how calls work, how quality works, how to look for quality, how to look at dispositions, and so forth. So that's kind of like the background of the founders.
Okay.
With that being said, going forward to answer your question is very simple. What we do is based on the contractor or the business itself, we deliver these leads, which are real time leads, web leads, and or calls to that contractor, and we make sure that the contractor also provides us with the necessary information for us to optimize the leads or the calls going in, because not all lead generators and not all contractors have the right fit. So our
Right.
job is to do the best we can with that contractor. And to be frank and honest, just like anything else, like any vendor or any buyer or whoever or any service provider, or tech, sometimes it's not a fit during that time. But what we try to do is try to find the best opportunity, the best chances for success during a specific or during that season. So
So let's say you're looking for a bathroom remodeler or roofing or pest control or something, the market you're
sure.
in. So, um, does a person apply to be considered as one of the people what's the process? Say I do bathrooms, I do roofs. Do I apply to you and say I
Sure.
want to be one of your vendors, and you qualify me, and then you send me leads and I pay for them? How does that work?
Yeah, so what we do is, like I said, every vendor works a little bit differently, right? For example, like the big behemoths out there, like Angie, right? You would have to prepay, and then you get certain leads and whatnot. And they have their own business model. Something is very similar with us, but we do it as a pay as you go, and this is for web leads. So what happens is when someone signs up and they want to get, let's say, web leads, what we do is we'll start sending them leads via API in real time during their operation hours. So they get to control when the lead flow comes on in. And what they do is they pay as they go. So and they can stop anytime they want. They could, there's no like monthly contracts or year contracts, or there's no minimum spend either. It's really up to them because our job is not to take their money. Our job is figure out a way to make the longevity work. Now,
Right.
also at the same time, because you mentioned bath remodel, what we do is we really strategize with the contractor when to buy leads, how to buy the leads, whether it's price point, and then during the slow season as well. The slow season's coming up, Paul. And November, December, January are very tough times, for example, bath remodels. So what we
Right.
do is we try to shift these contractors and say, hey, we want you to be, the hardest thing for web leads for any contractor out there is get them on the phone. Right.
Right.
That's like battle number one. So the contractors need to make sure that they have the right system in place, the right CMS or CRMs or whatever it is to
Right.
capture the lead. The speed of the lead is still one of those things, and how good their agents are, right? So, and during the November, December, January season, home services,
Right.
it's a seasonal thing here. So in remodeling, that's when the slow time happens. So if they're getting leads during November, December, January, what we try to do is like, hey, let's expand your portfolio, and let's buy calls instead, because calls, you actually have the person on the phone, and instead of getting information and then having your agents trying to call them up and then talk to them about their project,
So now,
right?
when you get a person on the phone, let's say
Yeah.
it's in real time. What if they have an AI agent as opposed to a real person? Or do you ask for? Do you
That's
care?
totally fine. No, that's totally fine. In fact, it's really interesting. I have a client on the East Coast. They use Revin.ai. I don't know if it doesn't,
Right.
I'm not sponsored by them or anything,
Right.
but
That's fine. Okay.
yeah. But this person they cover about 2,000 zip codes on the East Coast, very dense area. And
Right.
what they did was they used an AI agent. They brought
Right.
the AI agent in, they used it for 6 months, and they called her Bella. And they've realized after 6 months that Bella is now closing more than their agents are, and
Right.
it's wild. And I've
Right.
heard it. It's not 100% perfect. What they do is like about 70% of the time, the customer doesn't know that they're talking to an AI
Right.
agent to set the appointment, and then that other 30%, what they do is if they don't want to talk to that AI agent, then they can get transferred to a real agent
Real
within
person.
that
Right.
company.
Well,
Hmm.
I was doing a podcast earlier with somebody that said they did a bunch of statistics and they had better luck with AI agents than they did with
Yeah,
real agents. One, they never get upset. They're always there. They're very empathetic. I mean, and they're getting really good at it. So
really good.
you can program a person and they literally can't tell the difference between a real person and AI agent these days.
Yeah, exactly. I hear that all the time this year now. A lot of companies that have resources that are jumping ahead of this are using AI. Like Broccoli's a great example
Right.
that's helping out everybody.
Right, because I saw the food
Hmm.
service thing. So now, how do you charge? I guess the question: how do you qualify somebody to make sure they're a quality company? Do you do kind of research? Do you go to AI? How do you find out if I'm a good roofing guy or I'm not a roofing? Because I'm sure you
Oh,
want to have good people.
yeah, and likewise for them with us. So one of the things that we do is we have an insurance company that we use is Euler, and they're
Mhm.
they're a global insurance company. And
Right,
what we do is we go on Euler and we put in all their information, and we make sure that we have an insurance policy on them. If they have a good history, they will let us know, and then we put them on the policy, right? If they do not, and they have a high risk score, or they don't come up in the system, they have to one give us that information so we can give it to Euler.
right.
But Euler will let us know how this company is, what this company is doing, how they are with their credit. Are they delinquent on something
Do they
or
have any
whatever?
lawsuits going against them or
Yeah,
anything like?
exactly.
So
So we're
now,
we're safe on
what
that part.
what do you insure for when you insure? What is that? What do you insure for? What does that mean?
Just we insure them just on payment. It's basically a credit score. So, here's a great example. Everyone knows what happened recently with like New Pro and all them. Is it Revenue, right?
Mhm.
Revono, right? They went under. They were what, 2 years ago, the eighth largest home servicing company in the entire United States. They were doing $650 million. And then 2 years, just what, 2 weeks ago, they just closed their doors after 70, 80 years. And you never know, you never know with a company like that has like this amazing track record that works with vendors
Right.
for years and years, and they just cut out, so you just never know. So that's what the insurance policies is for. I think I answered that your question, right?
Right. So that makes
Yeah.
sense. So that's how you vet your people that you refer. Now, what does the cost look like? Is it they close a job, you pay per lead, you pay if they close, you pay if they get the lead? What's your cost structure look like?
Right. So this is a question that we get a lot, Paul. We do everything on a cost per lead basis, and the reason we do this is, and we don't do on a rev share, meaning we don't do on a cost per appointment or
Right.
cost on a sale, is because we we are a lead generation marketing company, and we can control what we can control. We are unable to control the other businesses' staffing, their operations, their closing capabilities, their
Right.
product, how much their product costs, and so forth. The relationships with their banks, if they do get a
Right.
close, but it's like, but they get a decline because their bank doesn't approve
Right.
the consumer. So
Right.
everything's on the CPL with us. Mhm.
And what is that? What is the range on a cost per lead?
So on an exclusively, it really depends on the area too, and the competition in that area. So when you're looking, are we talking about bathletes? So
Do
bathlete
athletes, do roofing, pick a couple, right?
shows they're kind of like generally the same. In the last 2 years, especially on Facebook and Google, we saw like a 33% increase on the marketing cost. So
Right.
3 years,
That's
I'll
what
tell you how
private
much
equity is driving everything up, right?
it's awful. So what you kind of saw 2 years ago, you could probably get away with an exclusive lead anywhere from, anywhere from $55 to $70, right?
Okay.
And $75 was kind of like on the high end.
All right.
That's now on the low end. Now the web leads are going for 100 plus. But here's a caveat. There's a lot that go into this, Paul, is that it really depends on the size of the contractor company, the contractor, right? The more coverage a contractor has, they have a better they have a better reasoning to have a lower price point because they have a broader range of
Mhm.
area to cover and more chances they can to purchase a lead. The ones that have a more difficult time are the smaller contracts. The ones that are on like a city, like they just handle like one city. That then they're competing against the regional guys and the national guys that can just
Right.
produce that can buy in volume. So what they
Right.
have to do is they have to increase their. Unfortunately, they have to increase their price point to beat out the regional and national guys that have just a
Lots of
load.
money. I get it.
Yeah, that lots of
So,
money they can just
so
purchase.
right. So now with that, when it is exclusive, they're the only person that gets the lead, or do you give it to five guys, or how does that work?
Only one. So, right now, Mr. Remodel is just a boutique company. All right. And we can only afford and can only do our dispositions and analytics based on real-time leads on an exclusive level. As the company gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and our analytics gets bigger, and our quality continues to improve through organic with Mr. Remodel,
Mhm.
we can now start doing maybe like we start moving over to a semi-shared, and then fully to like a four, like selling a lead four times at a lower rate,
Right.
obviously. So
Well, I mean,
so
I
right
look at
now we
that
would
as an
go on.
advantage because one of the disadvantages to using one of the larger companies is it goes to five people in real time. So you're immediately competing with five people when you start. Whereas if it's
That's
exclusive,
true.
at least it's just you. And I think a lot, with private equity, it's changing the whole landscape and people are paying a ton. And they want the right guy. Now, AI's help pick the right guy a little bit because it's a little pickier
Yeah.
than just buying your way to the top of Google with AdWords.
Mhm.
But it is shifted. And so I think the exclusive is sort of a good thing because you don't have five guys in there the same time you're in there. It's just you, right?
You're right, and that from a contractor point of view, that is That is 100% accurate. Now let's take it from a lead generation point of view, because we work with a lot of contractors, and we get to see the dispositions from a lot of roofers, a lot of bathroom remodels, and so
Right.
forth. But here's the interesting thing: is that I can give an exclusive lead if I was getting a lead from Google, right? Number one placement, I would
Right.
lose money on it because it's so expensive, but I would send an exclusive lead over to a contractor, right?
Right.
That if that contractor does not have their operations and their call center like just spot on, it doesn't matter if I give that contractor an exclusive lead, let alone an exclusive number one top tier Google lead or a shared lead. Doesn't matter. That contractor will always fail, right? But the ones
Right.
that have the contractors that have the right script, the right, the calling software, the right, the right setup, I can give that person an exclusive lead or a shared lead at a lower cost, and that contractor is constantly going to do amazing. It's just it's very, but again, it depends. Maybe this contractor does really well with exclusive, but I've seen other contractors that tell me that they work with, some of the larger companies on a shared model, and they do
Mm.
phenomenal with the shared leads, along with the exclusive leads from like boutiques with us.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, first place, you got to follow up in real time. You can't like get a lead
Oh
and
yeah,
call the guy. I
100%.
mean, when we recruit, we have less than a minute to get back to the applicant because we
Hmm.
figure any longer than that, you lose it. Same thing in this. If they're giving you a lead, you're not getting it in real time. You can't call them back like, in 10 minutes and think it's going to work.
You're right, right. You got to call within 10 seconds, 15
Right.
seconds right away. And obviously, the ones that have their operations doing really well, they have a great AI agent. They're using maybe 𝗙ncible or whatever for their,
Right.
or they're using, it doesn't matter
And
what
they've
they're
got a good
five
CRM
nine.
that connects with
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I would
uh,
say your service works best for people that have the ability to respond in real time, have a good system,
yes.
can actually take advantage of the lead. If it's going to
And this
go to
is
somebody, he's not going to call back for 2 days, forget it. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and this is my suggestions. I'm not, forgive me that I don't know like the size of your clientele, like what if they're smaller or
Right.
larger. I think you mentioned they were smaller. I always suggest that the smaller contractors start with calls, because they literally that's because the first problem is getting that person on a
Oh,
on the phone. Yes, calls cost a lot more, but there's a caveat to that, right? We actually give anywhere from 60 seconds to 120 seconds, so a minute to 2 minutes duration time. So when they pick up the phone, they can pre-qualify this customer before they buy the call. So what we do is we send over for these smaller guys, we send over a very specific script. Say, hey, follow this as best as you can. Here's 5 pointers, and qualify the person. Don't let the person talk too much, and just get through the qualifiers. If the person matches their qualifying, then it could be a really good call for you, and you can probably set that appointment. If the person says no to any of these qualifiers, gently just say, hey, we're not a right
then they
fit for
don't
you,
have to
and
pay
hang
for
up
the
from them.
lead. If I get a phone call and the first question is how many contractors are you talking to? Say, yeah, I'm interviewing 15 contractors. You're the 13th, right? You can say, I'm not
Yeah.
interested, right?
Yeah, you can say that. Usually it's because it's not a shared call. You can't do shared
Right.
calls, right? So
Right.
usually the first question is like, are you the homeowner? Are you looking to do a full bath remodel, or just the wet area?
Right.
Are you looking, is there anyone else that has to make the decision on this? Are you looking for financing? And are you within this zip code? Just make sure that they're in the scope in the same area, because we
Right.
do target on zip codes. So once they get like I'm missing a few others, but once they get through like the basics of those
Hmm.
those questions, then they have another, probably depending on the duration, they may have another 30 seconds to 45 seconds to ask whatever it is. But if it's not a fit, they can hang up and they don't purchase that call. Now, here's the thing. Everything's done on metrics, right? From our perspective and from the contractor's perspective. So when calls are running at 300 or $325 or $350 for a smaller contractor, we're expecting them to follow the script but we also expect them for 1 out of every 2 calls for them to set the appointment.
Right. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't
Right.
make any sense, right? And so with the web leads, at the same time, we're looking at, hey, look, 1 out of every 5, 1 out of every 6 leads, we want you to set the appointment, or 1 out of every 4 leads, we want you to set the
Well, it
appointment, right?
it has to make ROI sense. I mean,
It has to make sense.
it either makes sense to pay. I mean, if you're closing, pick a number, a $50,000 bathroom remodel, and I pay $800 per lead, it's well worth it, right?
Yeah, and we don't know exactly how big the cost of marketing is. The goal of the cost of marketing, there's always that universal rule of, hey, we want our cost of marketing at 15%, 10 or 15%. That's kind of like the golden rule, right?
Right.
So if it's above that 17%, it's still, that's when we really start keeping an eye on things. But we also want them to share with us all the gross sales and then all the net sales. And then on the net sales are great because it kind of tells us, hey, what's the comm? And then all of a sudden that they realize, like, hey, we're going to be looking at it from a full partnership. Let us do our
Right.
job, and then you guys do your job. And then if this works, great.
Okay.
And then with the gross sales, well, how come the gross didn't go through? What is the reason? Is it a credit decline? And if we start getting a lot of credit declines, and what we do is we take that data, we go on back and we say, okay, how's the advertising? Who are we targeting? Because if they're credit decline, if we see like a lot of credit declines on potential sales, right? It's like, okay, are we targeting
You're
the
not
right
talking to
zip
the right
codes?
people, right? That doesn't
We're
work.
maybe the ads are not talking. Yeah, they're not
Right.
talking to the
Right
to
people.
the to
They
the
need to
right
have the
people.
need and the money, or it doesn't make any sense. So,
And the
so
thing is,
yeah,
some contractors have better lending banks than other contractors
right.
do. So I could have 5, 6, 7 different channels going to one contractor. It's doing phenomenal, and then the other one, it's not doing so well. So we just always have to start making adjustments, no matter who the
Right.
contractor is.
So, Jason, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
I mean, it's really simple. They just go to mysterymodel.com, and then they just fill out a form and have them just write a note, and we'll reach out back to them. We also go to a number of trade shows. So we are
Okay.
an official sponsor at the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Top 500, which is an invite only for the sponsors. We're one of 7 lead providers. We're in the mix with Angie. We're in the mix with was it Networks and
Right.
Home Advisor, Modernize, all the bigger guys. So we're part of that team. And anytime I really want your listeners to know, if they have any issues with vendors and they don't know what vendor to pick, go to the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Top 500. I can give them free passes, or they can just go on
Yeah.
there and just work with those lead sources,
Those
because
companies,
those
right?
are
Excellent.
the ones that got vetted as
Right.
doing legitimate business for
That
the
makes sense.
top 500 contractors. Now, I'm not saying the other ones are not good. I'm just saying, if you
Well, they haven't
don't know
been
where to
vetted as
start,
well.
if you don't know where to start with the lead vendors that are at the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Top 500, and from there,
Okay.
and then spread out. That's
Cool.
that's
That
my
makes sense.
suggestion. But to get contact with us, meet us at a trade show, or just go to mysterymodel.com and
Thanks,
put in your
Jason.
information.
I appreciate your time. So, if you're paying for leads, you should at least talk to Jason about that option. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks, Jason.
yeah,
I appreciate
for
it.
sure. All right, no problem, Paul. Thank you very much.